Okay, thanks guys for hanging out. Once again, I'm Terry Harness. I'm the principal at VHE. We will talk today a little bit about our budget, and then we're going to look at our winter map scores for both reading and math across all grade levels. So you can see how our school does compared to some of the other cluster schools or the district as a whole. Very, very proud and happy to report we're doing very, very well. And you'll see that in just a few moments. All right, so I'm just going to jump into the budget piece. You should see on my screen. Hina, will you give me a thumbs up if you see my screen, red box FY27? Thank you. All right, so what I'm going to show you is how our budget is allocated, and this is what we receive as principals as we are developing a school budget. One of the big things that I want to make sure is very, very clear is that as the principal, I'm considered the expert in the school, and I will propose a budget that I think will make sense based off our school strategic plan, our strategic objectives, et cetera. I will create that budget, propose the budget to the governance board, our GO team, and they are the ones who will actually vote on the budget. I do not have a vote in that. So our GO team is comprised of parents, community members, we have teachers on there. So they're going to ask me all the questions about everything that we are thinking about for next year as it relates to our budget, and then they will do a final vote in the month of March. This month, or in February, I should say, we still got a week before, I'm going to offer a few additional parent sessions just to kind of pick your brains about things that you might like to see at VHE. And then we're going to try and develop something that makes sense as it aligns to our strategic plans and our goals. So right now, so that is what the principal's role is, and that is what the GO team's role is. We do have some parameters that we implement as a result of our GO team work and our strategic plan. So we did a priority ranking of things that we always want to make sure that we're thinking about when we are building out a school budget or when we're making decisions for our kids as a whole. And you can see that they are ranked 1 to 10. 1 is the highest, the higher priority in terms of what we want to accomplish. And that will always be related to our students, specifically the academic, how our students are performing academically. So improving academic achievement, closing any academic gaps with any of our subgroups is always going to be a huge priority for us, making sure that we're giving every kid exactly what it is that they need to be successful in both reading and math, science, social studies, all the things. We also recognize that there are going to be students who are going to need a little bit of additional support through a multi-tiered system of supports, which we call MTSS. And that is to kind of really pinpoint some of the things that some kids are working on. And we want to always keep that at the forefront of our mind. We want to create a school environment that is inclusive of everyone, where students do feel safe, valued, supported. Those are the types of supports where we have a resource officer, we have our counselor, we have a social worker, and then we have other supports to make sure that our kids are getting what it is that they need. We want to keep all of our teachers, right? We want to invest in them, build their capacity, but then we also want to leverage that and keep them for years and years and years to come. Other things, other priorities, building the capacity across all grade levels, making sure that our teachers are getting the type of professional development that they need to better support our students. We want to give equitable resources across the board. So meaning whether it's a student who needs additional support through remediation, or if it's a student that needs additional support through enrichment, like with gifted services, et cetera, we want to make sure that we are offering all of those things to every kid. We are a school of shared accountability. We believe in a culture of shared accountability. Everything that you see that I share today regarding data, I own. It is ours, but you own this as well. Our teachers own this as well. We all want to come to the table to make sure that we're doing right by our kids. So there's that culture of shared accountability. We also are not, we're not crazy enough to think that we just know all the things. We want to visit other schools. We want to talk with other teachers to see what it is that they're doing, and then, leverage their knowledge and expertise on how we could potentially improve upon things that we even have here at VHE. And we also want to offer that to any schools that would like to come visit us or talk with us about things that we are doing. So we're going to continue to develop that cross-school collaboration. And then last but not least, our parents are literally a game changer for our community. I say that because we recognize how incredibly fortunate, privileged we are as it relates to the level of support that our parents provide us, not just monetarily. And that is a huge component, but it's not the only component. Through volunteerism, through you being present, parent-teacher conferences, making sure that we're staying on our toes. And we do have a lot of parents that keep us on our toes in good ways, because you guys are advocating for your kid the way that I would advocate for my kid if I had an actual biological kid. But I have 674 of them right now that I want to advocate for, just like you do. And I do have high expectations like you would as well. So those are our strategic priority ranking. So let me just jump real quick into the money situation. So this is where, so the executive summary is pretty simple. You can see on the screen, we have $9.8 million budget, which is a pretty nice budget overall. We are a larger school in Atlanta Public Schools. So we take that money and we do everything we can to make sure that we are giving students the supports that they need, the teachers the supports that they need. And our PTO really does an amazing job in terms of supplementing our budget with lots of resources, software, supplies. It's a ton of stuff that our PTO does for us, but it allows us to keep our class sizes smaller as a result of that. We are projected next year to have 678 students. We are at 674, I checked this morning, which is, we're literally already 4 students away. Now, we don't know what will happen next year. We may go well over that, or we may be under projected. And we'll, cross those hurdles when we get to it. But it's supposed to be an increase of 26 students from this current year. All that being said, this year is year 3 for us. Last year we added 100. We were over projected by 100 students. I'm sorry, we were under projected by 100 students. So we had 100 kids more than we were originally expecting, which was a huge shock. But you know what? We did really, really well overall, even with that increase of 100 students. This year, strangely enough, we did not meet our projection by about 12 total kids at the 15-day mark. If you don't meet your projection, we have, I always put a line item of reserves, money that I just put into this line item that I say don't touch just in case. So like if we don't meet our projection, then we have to give money back to the district as a result of that. So we did give back about $111,000 total this past year, because we were 12 kids. We didn't meet our projection by 12 kids. Strangely enough, though, after Labor Day, September 1st, and towards the middle of September, we gained all of those kids back and then more. But we don't receive any additional funds after that 15-day mark. We just have to make it work, and we still are able to do that relatively well. But we definitely are pushing and asking our district to reconsider the 15 days and to give us some opportunities to think in terms of, we had a lot of kids that came to us from the northern area, from the north, and they usually start school after Labor Day up north. So that's why we saw an influx of children. So we're doing really, really well. I had a go-to member last night ask me, like, where are the kids when they come to our zone? Where are they living? Where do they live? And it's primarily in Midtown. With all the high rises that are being built and going up, if you build it, they will come, and families do stay in those high rises too. We have 2 buses that serve the Midtown area because you know what? Midtown's attracted to a number of families and they want to be there. I live in Midtown and I see kids all the time, and it's just going to continue to grow, or at least that's what I think is going to happen. So 9.8 million with 678 total kids overall. All right, moving on. So this is the way that our budget allocation looks. I'm going to make it a little bigger for those of you who can't see, like myself. All right, you see 3 charts on your screen. Up at the very top, it says FY27 right here. And then you see in the middle, it's FY26. That was this school year. So that's our current budget. And then you see the difference, the change from FY27 to FY26. So just to kind of take you through it, we're projected at 678 kids for next year. This year we were projected at 652. That was a change of 26 kids. Now we're already at pretty much our 678 for this year, but just kind of giving you an idea. Last year we earned this year let me back up. Next year we've earned $9.8 million. This year we earned right around 9.55 million, and then there was a difference of about $319,000 that was added to our budget for the next year budget. So you can see that. And then you can even see the per pupil allocation in terms of that total budget divided by the total number of kids that we were projected to have. For 2027, it's 14,570, and then it went down a little bit compared to 2026 at 14,661, with a net change of what, $91 per kid, but that's $91 times that 678, right? So that's how much we do not have per pupil as a result of FY27. The district allocates different grade levels, different levels of money. So right here, we get a base per pupil amount of about $5,900, which equates to that over 4 million that you see right there. And then depending on the grade or the age of a student, we receive additional funds. So for example, kindergarten, we still get that weight at 5,900, but then we also get a 0.6 weight to add additional money to our budget. So kindergarten generates additional money in about 390,000 extra dollars. Why do they have the highest weight? Well, because we have 2 adults in that room. It pays for typically the teacher and the instructional para that is in the room. So that's why it's a little bit more money. You see first grade, what they bring in as far as their age. You see second, third, fourth, and fifth. Fourth and fifth grade, they have a different weight. They're at the lowest weighted percentage at 0.45. And if to kind of give you an idea of what that means, at a lower weight, that means that we could have more students in any fourth or fifth grade classroom as a result of that. So, for example, the district's recommendation for kindergarten and the amount of students that we have in a class is 23. That's the district recommendation. The district recommendation at a minimum for like fourth and fifth grade is 30 kids per class. We don't have 30 kids per class, and I don't think we would ever want 30 kids per class. And I honestly don't think we could ever fit 30 kids per class because our classes, square footage wise, they're pretty small compared to some of our other schools. But again, that is the recommendation, and I'll show you what our class sizes are in comparison. So those are our grade level weights. We also get additional money based off of poverty and students who may qualify for free and reduced lunch. 90 students meet that qualification overall, so we get an extra pot of $187,000. We get other supports like for EIP, which is something we have here at the elementary level. It's early intervention. Basically, 27 of our students would qualify for that level of support, so we get additional money for that, $161,000. Special education, you'll see it's a very small amount that's listed, $11,331. Clearly, that would not be able to pay for everything special ed wise in our building, but additional money comes out of the special education budget for the district, and they allocate the people or the resources automatically. So it's not added to our budget. These are federal programs that we absolutely have to have this amount of teachers based on the students that we have that have IEPs, et cetera. So even though it's not reflected in this 11,000, we have 4 special education teachers, and their average salary or the cost per teacher is about $130,000 each. So 4 times that 130, you can see we get far more money than what that 11,000 kind of gives off. We also have a special ed preschool class with a teacher and a para in that room. We have a special ed lead teacher that comes out of the district budget. So we have a number of resources for special education. Gifted is the largest bucket of money that we receive because we have 185 students that are that have qualified for gifted services that we refer to as GATE, Gifted and Talented Education. They get an additional 0.75 weight, and that's $827,000 that we get to use in any way that we see fit within our building. One thing that is going to start happening in the next couple of weeks is we have a lot of testing for our gifted students or for students who are not currently in the gifted program. We have about 260 students that we will be testing pretty soon to see if they qualify for gifted services. If we get a lot of them that would qualify, then of course that would raise the amount of extra money that we receive as it relates to the gifted support that we receive per the district in our budget allocation. Another thing that we always want to make sure that we do, if we have this amount of students that are gifted, that are in the GATE program, then we also want to make sure that we have a number of teachers that are gifted endorsed. So that is something that a way in which we continue to build our teachers' capacity. And I say this every time, but gifted strategies are best practices for every kid, not just gifted students. So we're going to continue to increase the amount of teachers that are gifted endorsed. We also have an ELL population, ESOL. And we get a very little bit amount right here at 23,856. But similar to special education, we have a budget that comes out of central office that allows us to have a gifted teacher. We have our ELL numbers have dropped. They have dropped by about 4, 5, 6 kids. And I'm sure that you can, potentially figure out some reasons and rationales as to why that might be the case. But we do have a teacher that is dedicated to support our ESOL students overall. But next year, because that allocation dropped, we have to share that individual with another school. Luckily, that school will be within our Midtown cluster. But yeah, so that's our ELL population. I think someone asked about what is the percentage of teachers that are gifted indoors. Right now, we have over 30% of our teachers that are gifted indoors, and we have teachers that are currently in the gifted cohort, meaning they are working towards their endorsement. That gifted cohort or that gifted endorsement is a huge it's a huge undertaking for teachers who are working full-time and have families full-time. It is a year's worth of what we would refer to as like graduate coursework. It's a lot to do, but we do have some teachers that are in that program now, and we'll look to offer and start a new cohort more than likely in the summer, and then it would last the entire year. So we're looking to increase and get up to closer to 50% of our teachers, hopefully by the end of next year overall. Let's see. We are not a small school, so we don't receive additional money for that. We do have some transition policy money, which right here it's called Transition Policy Supplement at $66,000. We get that simply because we were a part of the new school, reshuffle. Springdale Park, Morningside, Mary Lynn, they had students that had to be rezoned, left their potential schools, and as a result of that transition for those students, we get a little additional funding. This is the 4th year, I believe, that we're getting something, but you can see last year we received $133,000 and they cut that in half this year. I would assume next year we would not have any. I think I was originally thinking we were only going to have it for 3 years, but they're giving it to us for 1 more year. Hey, and we'll take it gladly. So that is the majority of the allocations. The next slide that you see, though, here's additional earnings, which there aren't a lot. We have up at the very top, $230,000 additional dollars for signature programming, which is in essence our STEAM signature program. So that is used primarily for STEAM. That could pay it's a part of potentially the salary for any of our STEAM coaches, our STEAM lab teacher. It also has to do, it's a way that we pay for our band orchestra and even potentially Spanish, since within our signature program, those were things that our community really wanted our kids to have access to. So it's not a ton of money to get all of that, but we do have some flexibility in how we choose to spend it. You can see here the security grant compared to last year. We had $45,000 that we were able to use to have like a security monitor, which was George. George is no longer with us. He had an opportunity to be a security monitor at his kids' school up in Roswell. And then hopefully when his kiddo returns back, George will return back to us, but we'll figure some things out. We still have our school resource officer, Officer Shackelford. We call him Officer Shack, and he has the canine unit for our district. The dog's name is Tosh. So they're with us every day, and we love Officer Shackelford and Tosh. So, but we will not have security grant money next year. That money is put into the safety and security department for the district now. Field trip transportation, the district did provide us with some monies to have field trips, but that is no longer the case. So it's all good. We'll figure the things out, right? It's okay. Regardless, we do have some other things. The district funded stipends. We're glad that the district is still funding that for our teachers, particularly the teachers who are like grade level, the grade level teacher or the department chair, the grade level chair. So they get an additional stipend or additional monies to help lead their department and make sure that our teachers are staying on task and are informed of all of the things. So all of that equates to our $9.8 million. And that's what we have as far as our budget. When I saw that budget, I was very, very pleased to say that every person that we have currently in our building, we could easily fund and have them all back for next year. So very happy about that. But that does not mean that we can't reconsider or consider new things that we would like to do. And those are some of the things that we've been doing with our teachers, just having conversations about what would you like to see that's more? What is something that we don't have that you might want? And I'll be honest, from a standpoint of all the things, VHE has all the things. Like, we are very, very fortunate. We understand. We do not take it lightly. But we also want there's always some of the pie in the sky kind of things too. And those are the kinds of things that I'm referring to as far as like what might we want to consider. So I'll kind of go through a few of them with you with the teachers. But just to kind of give you an idea of how the money is used currently, this is our class, our grade levels and our class sizes to date, right? So kindergarten, we have 5 total teachers. We have 109 kindergartners. It's about 22 kids per class, okay? The district recommendation is at 23, so we're below that. First grade, we have 6 teachers, 121 kids, 20 kids per class compared to the district recommendation of 24. And you can see how it breaks down. Third grade, which is arguably the most important grade level for a lot of individuals, because this is where kids no longer necessarily learn how to read, but now they are reading to learn. So it is a much more difficult grade level in essence compared to some of the others, but all of them have their fair share and their way of importance. We have 6 teachers, 111 kids. That class size is about 18 to 19, so significantly fewer than the 24. And then we have 4th and 5th. You see both with 4 teachers per class or 4 teachers per grade, 24 to 25 kids per class. The district recommendation is that we could go up to 30. So we're doing very, very well as it relates to those numbers. But the truth of the matter is I would love to see those numbers, our current class sizes, drop even more by 1 or 2 additional kids. I think that would always be that sweet spot. Other things that we were able to do with this year's school budget, we have an MTSS coordinator, someone who's dedicated solely to support students who are tier 2, tier 3, who need just an extra little push and interventions provided, but also making sure that we are keeping up with that data and making sure that the interventions that we pair with the student are the right interventions for them so they can continue to learn and grow and access grade level curriculum. We have a school-funded IRR position. IRR means interrelated. It's a special ed position. So that school-funded 0.5 comes out of our school budget. The reason why I funded that, and I'm going to do it again, or I would like to do it again for next year, is every year we have new students that join us, and they come to us with an IEP potentially from up north or a different school. And sometimes when we don't know if those kids are coming, it can throw our schedule into flux a little bit, like just kind of out of sync a little bit. So it's always nice to have a cushion of how can we support kids that might be new to us, but still not kind of like having to rework our entire master schedule as a result of that. We were able to add a STEAM lab teacher. That's Miss Haygood. This was the first year that we had Miss Haygood, the STEAM lab teacher. And because we've added that position, we are now in alignment 100% with our other sister schools in our cluster because everyone has a STEAM lab person, and now we do as well. We're fortunate that we have 2 coaches, 2 STEAM coaches, 2 humanities coaches. That was something that we committed to make sure that all of our teachers got exactly what they needed, because we had a lot of people that came from different spaces, right? We had teachers come from Spark, Mary Lynn, Morningside, and teachers that came from outside of our cluster or even outside of the district. And it was important to me to make sure that they were all getting the support that they need so we can continue to move forward. We pay for the teacher stipends. We have our EIP teachers, those teachers that support kids who just need a little extra push. 3 total teachers. We have an hourly EIP person that we dedicated to first grade. Since the first grade teachers don't have a para, it was important for us and for them to have at least an additional person that can provide supports. We added an additional gate teacher to have 3 total gate teachers overall. Our media center paraprofessional we added because we want our kids going into the media center and checking out as many of the books as they can, but we have to have people in there making sure that they are supervised when that is occurring. That media para is able to do that. Incidentally, Ms. Kleinfelter mentioned to me this morning that we should cross over 10,000 books in our media center by the end of the year, which is phenomenal. In the past 3 years, how much we've grown our collection has been pretty impressive. And, kudos to all the families and PTO and to Ms. Kleinfelter for getting books that our kids want to absolutely read. We don't just have books in there just to put them on the shelves. We get the things that they are interested in. And she does a great job of listening to the kids and getting them what it is that they want to see in the media center. We did have our security monitor. That is not going to happen next year because we don't have that $45,000. So that would be something that we would change. We did reduce our school social worker from 5 days to 2 days. We may need to reconsider and add another day. Our social worker is shared between Springdale Park and Mary Lynn, and she's phenomenal. Like, it's pretty impressive what she's able to accomplish. But we might want to have an additional day added. The smaller class sizes overall was one of the big things. We have Spanish right now for our upper grades, but our Go team and our strategic plan really, it states that we want to give and offer those opportunities to all grade levels. And then we have band, orchestra, and chorus. That's just a few of the things that we add or that we currently have, which we're very happy about. I asked the teachers the simple question of, okay, well then we have lots of things. What else should we consider? And we got some silly things like, oh, our harness, it would be wonderful to have heaters out there in the morning because it's freezing, right? Underneath the awning, sure. But that's a little different. That doesn't really come from school budget. But we had some of our teachers say it would be great to have someone who primarily does the interventions, actually administers the interventions to our kids who need it. And it would put something, or it would take something off of our teachers' plate. We had a couple of our kindergarten teachers, they asked, could we reconsider our paras, meaning instead of having them hourly, can we make them full-time? So that is something that we're going to look at and consider as well. Right now, they're with us from 8 to 2, which is the majority of the instructional day. We don't have the kindergarten pairs in the morning from 7:15 to 8 o'clock. We don't have them in the afternoon from 2 to 2:30, but we do have other people in the building that help supervise. And so as students arrive in the morning or as they leave in the afternoon, we do have supervision covered and everything is squared away. But that is something that we were asked to consider, and we'll definitely look into that. Some other things that we were asked to just at least consider. We have a huge gym that has a huge stage. Sound system is getting upgraded. The curtains are getting upgraded. And then we have an auditorium that sits 340 people. It would be amazing to have a drama teacher, and there is elementary drama. We do offer, we do have the musical each year, but that is something that, some of our teachers have said, hey, we really should capitalize on those spaces. We're well set up to do something along those lines. Doesn't mean we will do it, just means that we will definitely look at to the feasibility of it and consider those additional things potentially. But with anything that we might want to consider we have to think about the things, well, what should we reconsider? Do we need all the things? Is there something that we should reconsider for next year? For example, I gave the teachers an example. Let's just say we did the whole, we stuck with the class sizes that the district recommends. What might that look like for us? So, and this would free up some money. So for example, just looking at first grade. First grade, right now, they have those 6 teachers. If we dropped it to 5 teachers, the class size would be 24 kids per class. But that would save $130,000 that we could use for other considerations, right? Because we can't just add without potentially cutting something. I'm not saying we're doing this, but I wanted to paint a clear picture for all of our teachers, all of our staff, of the considerations of anything that we could consider doing. You can see, like, even with 4th and 5th grade, if we decided to go by that district recommendation of 30 kids per class, we could drop from 4 teachers to 3, and that would bring us right at 33 kids per class. We would need stadium seating, and I just don't think that would work, right? But these are things that we would have to consider if we want to bring more or something new on board. Not saying that this is going to happen. I repeat, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. This is just kind of helping us think through. You saw this just a moment ago, but any of these things could also be considered or removed, cut, reduced in order to bring on additional things. So a lot of things are up for consideration if we choose the route of wanting to add something new to us, but then we have to take something that we currently have away in order to fund it. So these are just some thoughts. Does not mean that we're actually going to do it. But again, in the month of February, I'm going to get a ton more feedback from our teachers. I'm going to ask our parents, our community members to also provide additional feedback and thoughts on what we have currently, what we might want to consider, what we might want to reconsider. We're not making those decisions today, just kind of setting the stage that the conversations will start to happen. So hopefully, I will see you, and we'll have really cool conversations as it relates to how we move forward within our school. Other things. So, any questions about just the allocation? Again, we didn't get into the nitty gritty. The lights just flickered in here. We didn't get to the nitty gritty. So, but these are things that we're going to talk about. Any questions?
This is Vivian.
And I think I am recording, so hopefully. Hey, Vivian, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just looking at the grade level and the progression. So third grade has a bunch more kids than fourth grade. So as those third graders progress to fourth grade next year, does that mean that you're going to have to shift teachers around, hire more teachers to accommodate? Like, I just want to understand what that picture looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the decisions that we haven't made in terms of total, like what I say with the nitty gritty. We haven't gone into that, but yes, I mean, you guys can see that looking at this third grade group of kids, 111 kids, that's 12 additional kids compared to fourth grade. Chances are it's going to be tough to go from 6 to 4 teachers. So I would say we have a pretty surefire bet that I'm going to add a fifth fourth grade teacher to continue to bring down those class sizes, because it's just too much in my opinion. But that will probably be something that I would propose to the Go team. And again, the Go team will vote on this holistically. So yeah, the chances of increasing that will happen. It may even happen specifically. It could happen with fifth. This year with fifth grade, we've had maybe 5, 6 additional fifth graders that have joined us, and that's very rare for that to happen in the fifth grade. But if it continues to happen like that, we may even have to consider adding another fifth grade teacher. And we'll look at every bit of it. But yes, that is what we would have to do, Vivian.
Got it. And so
Yeah.
it would be, you think 5, not 6, so that would have implications on the paired teaching model. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely could. It definitely could. There are some schools that, like, even from a kindergarten standpoint, they bring their class sizes down so much to maybe 12, 13 kids per class, but then they don't have a para. 12 to
Mm,
13 kids for one teacher. Some schools go that route. I don't know that we could go that route with what it is that we want to accomplish within our strategic plan and making sure that all of our grade levels have smaller class sizes. But some schools do that. Some schools do. Okay. Any other questions about budget? Strongly advocate for continuing to have small class sizes. I appreciate that. I do not disagree with you at all. All right, so just we'll move into then our data. So data also is something that we have to look at that will help determine how our budget should be spent. Our CCRPI, that does not read creepy, but that you can refer to it as that. It basically is our report card. So out of 100, every school gets a report card offered by the state. Out of 100, you get an overall score. Our overall score was 97.2. Very happy with that because, again, keeping in mind, this score also considered the additional 100 kids that we were not expecting, right? So very happy with that score overall. Last year, we had a 98.5. Did we take a dip? Yes, we did. Do we have a principal that doesn't like that? Yes, we do. But still very happy with the work that our teachers have accomplished last year. And then, since we've been open. But there are 4 components that CCRPI covers. Content mastery is just straight up achievement, meaning how did the kids do on the milestones testing for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. We scored the highest in every area for ELA, math, and science, so 100 plus. Last year for progress, this is all about growth. Last year we had 100. This year we went down to 99.7. That 0.3 really bothers me, but still a great score overall. We met our growth targets as a school for 3rd, 4th, and 5th in both ELA and math. Really great score overall. Closing the gaps really takes a look at all of our subgroups. So it could be our Hispanic subgroup, our students with disabilities subgroup, our ELL subgroup, our any subgroup imaginable. And as long as we have 15 kids within 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in that subgroup, then it impacts our overall CCRPI score. Our closing the gaps was 90.6. Again, that is with an additional 100 kids. Many of those kids, it was their very first year with us, their very first year in the Midtown cluster. Not always the easiest thing to get them where they need to be, but our teachers work really hard. Very happy with that overall. We met all of the academic goals set by the state for reading for all of our subgroups, which was great, but we did not meet for two subgroups in our math side of things, and that was African American subgroup and our um, I think last night I said students with disability, but it was actually economically disadvantaged students. So we didn't meet in those two subgroups, but we were very, very close to meeting. We just didn't get the score that the state had put out there for us. But still, a 90.6, we're doing well. And I will show you the data as it relates to students with disabilities and some of our other ethnic or ethnicity subgroups. And then last but not least, the readiness. The readiness, everyone, I want you just to think about it. And this is how parents really help our overall CCRPI, because this is the component that we look at when it comes to attendance. So if we have attendance issues, then this score goes down and it is going to impact our overall score. We do have students in our building that have had perfect attendance all year. We recognize and we appreciate that. Awesome. We're glad that happens. But we also know that kids are kids and they're going to pass germs, and there are going to be kids that are going to be sick. We don't want you to send any child to school sick because it gets other kids sick. But we do ask if you can avoid those really nice vacations that might be during school days. We would ask you to avoid that if possible, because again, it does impact our attendance. I will say our attendance rate did go up last year compared to our first year. Our first year, I think it was like around an 88% of all of the students had 6 or fewer absences. Last year, we had 91.2. This year, we're holding right around 94. So we're doing better. So thank you, parents, for that. But we still do have students that we have students that have missed 20 days, right? We have students that have missed 28 days. We have students that are tardy, that has 40 tardies plus. All of these things impact how students perform, and it impacts what our teachers can do. It's hard to make up 20 days. Let's just be real. That's pretty much a full month as it relates to like the school year. So we want our kids here. We want them here on time. The majority of all of our instruction as it relates to reading and phonics happens during the optimal time of day. That is the morning. So if they're arriving, and when I say tardy, I'm not meaning a minute or two. I'm meaning 30 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes. It takes something from their day, and it's going to most likely come out of their reading or their phonics instruction. They need that. They need that. So hopefully you'll hear my plea. You'll share this with anyone that you know out there in the community, and you'll say, hey, get them to school. And I really do mean it. We want them here. Even if they don't want to be here, we want them here still. So, and we'll do everything to keep them in a place where they do want to be here. But very happy with how we are progressing as a school overall. So that is our CCRPI. Now I'm going to show you really quickly. Well, not really quickly. It's a lot. I'm going to show you what our winter map data looks like. And I know someone drew this on the screen. I have no idea how to get rid of the blue, but I'm not going to try to figure it out either. You guys see that, or is that just me? Y'all see the line? Okay, well, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. All right, so what you're seeing right now on the screen, this is all of our winter map data. So I'm going to take you, I want to show you what it looks like overall. You're going to see two components. You'll see the achievement score, the score that our students scored 2nd through 5th grade on map testing, and then you'll see the growth as it relates to them as well. 2nd through 5th, you're only going to see achievement. I can't show you the achievement with kindergarten and 1st grade, but I will show you the growth of kindergarten and 1st grade overall, because that is where we focus the majority of our time as it relates to their growth. So on the screen right now, you see this is 2nd through 5th grade overall reading achievement. So for the district, in terms of reading of all kids in 2nd through 5th grade, VHE is at the top spot in our district. 44% of our kids at the distinguished, the highest level, 37% at proficient. We want the kids to be in the green, and we want them only if they have to. We only want them to visit the yellow or the red, but we would prefer that they stay in the green always. Doing really, really well. Very happy to see this level of achievement, but I was even happier to see that our overall growth, meaning we have a lot of kids that come to the table with a lot of knowledge already. We need to meet them where they are. We need to grow them where they are, whether that is because they are below grade level mastery or whether they're well above grade level mastery. We do want to continue to do what we can to have them grow and meet them where they are. So overall, VHE was second overall in reading K through 5 growth. So really happy about that. And kudos to Burgess Peterson. They're doing some great stuff over there, clearly. But as you can see, we're in alignment with some of our other schools that are very similar to us. The schools that are most like VHE are Brandon Elementary and Jackson Elementary. They have a similar challenge index where they have similar percentages of students that receive free and reduced lunch. And that's one indicator of like schools that are like us. Springdale Park and Morningside, we were closer to Spark at one point, but we're starting to have a different level of challenge index. But Springdale Park, Morningside, and then Lynn, they have a smaller challenge index compared to VHE at this point. So again, this is snaps to everyone and kudos and applause. Thanks for, I'm glad to see that we have that growth. Taking a look at math, here we are with 2nd through 5th grade overall math achievement. You see VHE is sitting right there, right after Spark. Kudos to Spark. But really happy to see where we are with that distinguished rate of all of our kids 2nd through 5th grade. Again, that's 41% of them at the distinguished, 41% at proficient. Great scores. And then you can see where we fall as it relates to the red and the yellow, which means the beginning and developing stages. So our achievement is really great. But then we're number 1 overall in terms of overall math growth compared to the district and to our cluster. I mean, that is crazy. So 84% of all of our kids, kindergarten through 5th grade, have met their growth target or exceeded their growth target. Listen, that was awesome. This was awesome to see. We were really ecstatic to see this. And we've done a lot of great stuff in math, and we're going to continue to do what we can, but we want to continue with that momentum. Taking a look at the individual grade levels, this is kindergarten reading growth. You see where we fall compared to the other schools. So we've got Beach or Burgess Lynn. There's schools that are up above us, and VHE falls right there at about 88% of all of our kids meeting their reading growth goals, which is great. But we still have 12% of them that we want to do whatever we can to identify and make sure that we are doing what we can to have them grow as well. They may not have met their growth target, but it does not mean that they did not grow. They just didn't meet the target. But I promise you, we know exactly who they are, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that they are growing. Looking at math overall, you see where we are. So kindergarten math, we're going to have to do a little bit more work on as it relates to making sure that they are getting the math. What we've noticed this year, specifically at VHE, we've always been a school that has focused a lot on the phonics and the reading instruction. We have a completely new curriculum that we are learning. But what we have noticed with our teachers, and I'm not speaking disparagingly, that is not the point. But because it is a new program, we are seeing that our teachers are spending a little bit more time in our reading and in our phonics instruction, and they're kind of stealing time for math. So math time has to be sacred. And I feel like once we make sure that that is happening, we're keeping that math time and making sure that they're getting exactly what it is they need. We're still doing very well with 82% of the kids meeting their growth goal. But just be honest with you, you have a super competitive principal, and I'd like to see us up at the very top for kindergarten. But in order to make that happen, math has got to be sacred, and we've got to give them the full time for their math instruction. So that is one of the things that we were working on, and it was a data dig element that came to light a couple of months ago, but we actually saw it in the data, and it's further proof to say they need their full time as it relates in math. All right, 1st grade reading overall, you see where we fall, 87% of them meeting their growth target. Our 1st grade teachers, reading is their jam. They do an amazing job with our kids, but we're doing very well. Super happy to see where we are. Jackson Elementary is that school that is close to us in terms of challenge index. They're clearly knocking it out of the park. So kudos to Jackson and Usher Collier. Here's 1st grade math overall, better as it relates to where we fall in comparison to some of the others. Again, one thing that we recognize and one thing that we were wanting to make sure that we do is having that sacred math time and using all of that time. Oh, one thing I didn't mention about kindergarten math is that our kindergarten math schedule is it was interesting. They started their math for about 40 minutes, and then they went to either lunch or recess or something like that. Then they came back for math as well. We revamped our schedule where they have all of their math at the same time, where there's not a break. So I think that's also a possibility that might have impacted our growth, even though we still have 82% of them meeting their growth goals. All right, moving on. Here's first grade math I mentioned. So first grade math is the exact same thing as it relates to kindergarten, wanting to make sure that we make that time sacred, and we have to give the same amount of time. But still 83% of our kids meeting their growth target. Still some work to do with that 17%. All right, now we're going to move into second grade. So you're going to see the achievement and the growth for second grade overall. So here's reading. You see Brandon and Lynn right above us doing really well overall. 46% of the kids at that distinguished level, which is that highest level. We want to see that. And then for their growth, you see where they fall within the top 10 as it relates to other schools within our district, at 76% of them meeting their growth targets. Do we have work to do? Absolutely. Am I happy with where we are? Yeah, absolutely. From fall to winter, we are still growing, and we want to expect to see more growth from fall to spring. Here's second grade math achievement. So VHE is up at the top as it relates to math for almost all of our kids at the developing or above mark, which is where we would want them to be, but we still want them to be in green. So we still have some work to do with the 9% and that, like, 1 or I think it's 1 or 2% right there. So doing very, very well in second grade math overall. And then you see where the math growth is. It is 85% of our kids meeting their growth targets. So again, very happy with what we're seeing. Here's third grade reading overall. You see where they fall on the reading scale compared to the other schools. Doing great stuff with third grade. Got to say, really very proud of the work that I've seen third grade do this year. They have really gelled as a team, and they are super strong because they're leveraging each other's knowledge. It's awesome to see. But very happy with what we're seeing in third grade reading. And then they also had #1 growth overall for the district with 79% of our kids doing really, really well overall. So very happy with third grade reading. And then you'll see the same thing for math achievement. So third grade math doing very, very well. Spark is right there above us. 50% of our kids in third grade are at the highest level as far as the score that you can make. Great stuff. And then again, they were #1 in overall total growth. Look at that math. It's kind of crazy. 90% of all of our kids meeting their growth targets and goals. So yeah, very happy with what we see in third grade. And if you remember what I said, third grade can be considered one of the more difficult, if not the most difficult grade level for kids. Our teachers are doing some amazing things, and our kids are doing some great stuff as a result. All right, here's fourth grade. Now, this fourth grade group of kids are one of my favorites, but last year we really worked hard in third grade trying to get them to where they needed to be, and we did not see the results that we would prefer with this particular group. We did it again where we wanted to give them as many supports as possible. And in fourth grade, we're seeing the fruits of the labor that happened in third and in fourth, where this group has completely just turned things around for the better. Just saying, they're doing some great stuff. So happy with their reading achievement scores overall. And then you can kind of see where they fall right here. VHE, my arrows kept moving down clearly. VHE, in terms of the total reading growth, very happy with the amount of progress that we're seeing. Still have work to do. I can say within that 24% of the kids who did not meet their goal, they are growing. They're growing. They just didn't meet the goal. But we know exactly who they are. And I'll even kind of tell you a little bit about what the teachers did at their mid-year evaluations as it related to a pretty deep dive and data dig for every one of their classes. Here's fourth grade math achievement. Again, doing very, very well. Achievement-wise, we still have some work to do, but then fourth grade had the #1 overall growth for math. So our kids are they're really working hard. They're doing a lot of great stuff. 84% of them meeting their growth target or exceeding it. Here's fifth grade reading achievement. Fifth grade, we have 4 total teachers doing really well overall with their achievement level. You can see where they perform compared to some of the others, but then you see where they fall as it relates to overall reading growth. 67% of them meeting their growth target. What I can say about this particularly is fifth grade attempting to use a new curriculum and trying to do it as by the book as possible while keeping in mind the science of reading, there were a couple of things that I think that we need to do a little bit more of, and that the teachers recognize that they need to make sure that is happening. What I mean by that is within the new science of reading and the curriculum that we are currently using, believe it or not, there wasn't a lot of time to read in the actual curriculum itself. And when I say read, meaning opening up books, doing book clubs, giving them something at their just right level that is age appropriate, but still challenging them at their instructional level. We weren't seeing that happen as much as we would have preferred within our small groups. What they were reading was something that is within the curriculum called we refer to it as the magazine, which they read in depth. The kids enjoy it, the teachers like it, but they've been annotating that text pretty religiously, consistently throughout the entire year. But the big charge to them is, hey, listen, there's the art of opening up a book, turning the pages. We don't want to lose any of that. So those book clubs are back up and running. And what we've learned is the science of reading is a real thing. We know that there is legit a science where it invest in terms of supporting kids, but that doesn't mean that we give up all the things that we knew worked for our kids and that made sense and that were impactful. So our fifth grade team was not happy with this growth. I'm happy with the growth, but I know that we could do far better, but they are most certainly going back to some traditional, we're going to read the books that make the most sense, and we're going to have deep conversations about what it is that we're reading, because that is when we see the majority of our growth, is when we focus on that small group piece. So we'll continue to see that. I'm confident in my teachers. And then here's fifth grade math overall. You see how well they're doing with math achievement. And then fifth grade math overall, they had the number one growth overall. So as a principal, super happy, glad to see it all, but we still have work to do. I am still working on, and my teachers make this a point to say to me too, is that we do need to celebrate the wins, but I also might need not to harp on the fact that we still have lots of work to do. We need to celebrate a little longer than I might harp on them with some other things, because we are doing really, really well. Taking a look at just science, we don't have the achievement piece for science, but doing well. This is right where we kind of fell last year, around this time at the 67th percentile. But then we saw major growth from the winter to the spring, and overall we were the sixth highest science scores in the state. So very happy about that. We were recognized by the state as having high science achievement. So very happy with all those things. All right, so other things. So just to kind of give you an idea of what teachers were asked to do over the 2 days of their winter when we came back to the school. There was one day where the teachers could work from home. So I asked them to do a deep dive and data dig. We created a sheet for everyone where we outlined the strengths that we saw within their scores as far as the data was concerned, and the weaknesses. And we did that for both reading and math. And we provided the individual teacher reports where their entire team could see each other's scores. We do that specifically because we want them to say, I don't know what you did to get that kind of growth, but I need to be in your head. So give me something. What did you do? How are you making this happen? We want to leverage each other's knowledge, and we want to capitalize on that. I'm not showing you the individual teacher stuff. You're only seeing the grade level things. But with that being said, I want you to know this is important. So the teachers had to go through this, reflect on every kid, create their lesson plans based in the data. And then what were some of the things that they noticed? So we used a protocol of what, so what, now what? So the what meaning, what do we see? Just tell me what we see. What is the so what? So what is, why do you think that score happened? And then the now what? Now that we see all of this, what are we going to do differently to make sure that our kids are moving, right? So we go through a pretty intense protocol to make sure that we're looking at all the data and that our teachers are very well aware of what is happening. So what I wanted to show you was, we did this for every grade level. I'm going to show you really quickly, second through fifth grade. I'm going to show you some of the subgroup data. It's a lot, but I think it's interesting. So just taking a look at what you see on the screen right now. This is subgroups by ethnicity. This is for math in grade 2. What you'll see is, you'll see up at the very top, you'll see the different subgroups: Asian, African American, Hispanic, 2 or more races, or white. If you don't see 2 columns, for any one of those subgroups. That's potentially because we did not have 15 students at that grade level to substantiate that subgroup. But just to kind of give you some perspective, this is overall the percentage of students who were scoring at the proficient or distinguished mark compared from fall to winter. So here's our African American subgroup with math in second grade. In the fall, they were at 38% of the kids were at proficient and distinguished, but then by winter, they jumped up to 80%. So we're seeing some major growth. Hispanic population, 86 to 93%. Two more races, 45% to 80%. And then our Caucasian population, 87% to 96%. We want to see that. What this shows me easily is that when we say that we're closing gaps, we're legit saying that we are closing gaps, that any kid, regardless of their background, how they look, the amount of money that they may have in their family, they can still do what anyone else can with the correct supports in place. So really happy to see that. Here's math grade 2. This is for students with disabilities. Again, this is the percentage of students, or this is the students who have an IEP in special education, the percentage of students who scored at the proficient or distinguished mark in math. We went from 77% in the fall, they went up to 89% of them in the winter. Are we doing really well? The answer is yes. Very happy to see what is transpiring here. Taking a look at reading, you'll see the same trend. 31% of our African American subgroup in the fall, up to 53%. Do we still have work? The answer is yes, but that's still amazing percentage growth, 31 to 53%. Our Hispanic, 86 to 93%. Two or more races, 55 to 80, and then Caucasian, 74 to 85. So we are seeing everyone trend up, and that is what we want in order to maintain and hit the targets that the state has set for us with our subgroups. Here's students with disability in reading, 68% of them at that proficient or distinguished, and it jumped up to 82% of them from fall to winter. Again, doing well. Let's take a look at third grade. Here is math, our ethnic subgroups. African American, you see in the fall, they were at the 33% proficient and distinguished. They jumped up to 62, almost 30 percentage points. Hispanic, 79 to 92%. Former races, 60 to 93. And then our Caucasian, 89 to 95% of our total students. You might not see Asian listed here because, again, we may not have 15 students in third grade to show that subgroup. That's math. Here's students with disabilities in third grade math. 77% up to 87%. So we are moving. We're moving. We're getting there. And these are great scores. Or this is great stuff to see what is happening in our classes. Here's reading for grade 3. Not seeing as much movement achievement-wise, but also keeping in mind it did not mean that they did not grow. It just means that that growth has not translated necessarily into that achievement just yet. So for African American population, fall 52% to 57%. Hispanic 71 to 77, former races 60 to 73, and then Caucasian 86 to 89% overall. Here, students with disabilities only went up 2 percentage points for our students who have IEPs in special education, 77 to 79%. Looking at fourth grade, here's our ethnicity data. Fourth grade, this is math. 13% of them in the fall, up to 33% of them still have lots of work to do. But I got to say, they are definitely moving the needle and the growth is there, just hasn't translated into achievement yet. Caucasian population, 79 to 82%. You'll see that these are the two subgroups. We don't have enough to constitute Asian subgroup or Hispanic subgroup. That's why you don't see those listed. Students with disabilities, 71 to 78% overall as relates to proficiency in math. Here is reading. Reading in fourth, this is where we have to do a lot of our work, and that one of the big things came about as it related to with our teachers and our data dig. It stayed stationary for our African American subgroup at 40%. It held true from fall to winter. Our Caucasian population went up 5 percentage points. Are they growing? Yes. And did we see the growth? The answer is yes. We've got 2 amazing teachers. We've just got to make sure that they're getting the right interventions and the right support. So we're taking a look and making sure that that is exactly what's happening for this group, but they're still performing exceptionally well overall. Here is students with disabilities, 74% to 84% overall. Saw some movement and growth there. And then grade 5, last but not least. So here's our math ethnicity groups for grade 5. African American population, 21 to 46%. Hispanic population. In the fall, we had enough for subgroup, but we don't currently for 5th grade now. But then our Caucasian population, 80 to 87%. And students with disability in the grade in 5th grade math, 69% to 81. And then for reading in 5th grade, our African American population went from 50 to 62%, and Caucasian 83 to 89%. And our students with disability 80 to 87 percentage points overall. I'll show other data as we continue to talk about this, particularly as it relates to our budget allocation and what we do for next year. But in the month of February, I want to continue to invite you all to be a part of those budget conversations to help us, brainstorm and be thought partners in what we could do a little differently and how we can continue to move the needle for our school as we continue to grow. I didn't mention this, but we are supposed to be larger than Morningside next year, which has never happened in the 10 years. Morningside has always been the largest school, which is interesting. So it's showing me that there's still a lot of growth our Midtown cluster has to go through, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But very happy with what we're doing. What questions or what might you have that's a burning question on your mind? What you got, Vivian? You always have a good question. What you got, Vivian?
Now I feel like I'm put on the spot. One of the questions that you or comments that you had raised earlier about utilizing our current spaces, and I mean, I think one of the unique points of VHE is having the STEAM lab, the makerspace, like all of these spaces. And I know Miss Hagood's a new addition, but are we really utilizing all of the things that we have, especially with respect to the math and science scores? I just, part of that is, hey, we have this shiny thing, but our teachers using it, our classroom teachers using it in ways that could be driving growth separate from Miss Hagood.
To the degree that you and I would probably prefer it, the answer I would say is no. If you ask my teachers, they're gonna be like, yeah, we're using it, but there is a lot that could happen within our STEAM lab, and there's a lot of components to it that we are not utilizing right now. But then there are things that go beyond just the STEAM lab itself, meaning how often are we using our STEAM journals, right? Our kids should be writing every day. Quick writes, whether it's related to math, science, or right now we're doing a big push on book reviews through Beanstack, and we feature those on the news. We want our kids writing more often, but that's like a component that we need to consider. Why aren't we using it more? So yeah, the thing is that do we have additional room to improve in terms of the total space and what we're using? The answer is yes. With the addition of Ms. Haygood, we know that the STEAM lab is being used in a way that had not been used last year for sure. But it's also a matter of now, how do we get more kids in there more frequently with Ms. Haygood so they can utilize what it is that they're learning in class and then actually apply it within the STEAM lab, or vice versa. Not everything that we do as it relates to science or experiments or things of that nature has to happen in the STEAM lab. What are we doing and making sure that they're happening within the class? Other things that I think that we're working on, and we do well when it's happening, but we need to do it more frequently, is our project-based learning. Like we should definitely make sure that we are doing more as it relates to that. And with not overwhelming teachers, because some of the project-based learning can definitely be a lot to kind of grapple, and it moves people's cheese a little bit because they may be doing something that they are not accustomed necessarily to doing because they have a different style, right? So we're moving some cheese, but we've got to do those things as well. As it relates to the makerspace, I probably would say the makerspace is one of the more popular spaces in our building that is used often, and you can tell that it is used often because it's dirty. But no, I'm kidding. It's not super dirty, but it definitely is. It's definitely well worn at this point. So we're using that space, I think, in a way that we need to, but I think we can always improve on that STEAM lab component for sure.
Do you think that there's budget related ways that you could address some of the teacher barriers? Is it just planning time? Like what is it, that you fit, and is it something that a little, I don't know, stipend or something, or could help?
Um, let's see, how would I say? I think it's a combination of any number of factors, but I do believe the planning time is the biggest. one, because keeping in mind our homeroom teachers get planning because we have specials, right? And
Mhm.
that's when they're without kids. Our specials are what, 45 minutes, so they're only getting during the day a 45-minute planning period. We do our PLCs on Wednesday, where we kind of just make sure that we fine tune, we set our scope and sequence, we set our goals, we develop our assessments on a Wednesday, and that happens with our instructional coaches. But time is always going to be a huge factor for every teacher. I wish we could figure out ways to give more time. One of the things that our teachers have said that they miss, and actually I kind of do too, was the one thing that we all thought we were going to hate way back in the day, which was that additional 30 minutes that we called wise time, where all the elementary schools were in school for an additional 30 minutes. And that was only during COVID for 3 years, but we missed that time because that time really was utilized well, not just for remediation, but for enrichment. So, one of the things that we have to do a little differently is, in addition to giving them the professional development to kind of hone their skills and to increase their toolbox, we need to utilize some of our other departments a little differently. I'll give you an example, and don't hold me to this. We've got to work this out and figure this out. But we know that we can earn additional gifted segments by offering something that is referred to as like advanced content. So if we go that route, then what do we mean by the advanced content? Are we going to give students a little, the ones who are potentially who are so well above and beyond like grade level standards that we're going to give them a different class where they can do more at an enrichment level, but they do that often throughout the entire week? Can we make that happen through our gifted teachers? Can we make that happen through our coaches? Like, how can we make that happen while still staying within the confines of what we have or what we call standards of service? Because we have to hit a certain amount of minutes to make sure that we are doing everything by the state, by the book, and by our district, right? So we're looking at that, and we're looking to do some innovative things and just a little differently. Particularly with math, I've always kind of believed that, like on that gifted day for all of our kids who are in gifted, they're taken out, but they're not necessarily doing math in their gifted class time. So they're getting math 4 days a week, might not be getting it that fifth day, kind of depends on the unit, but we want them to be able to do that. Now, that's just one subgroup, the gifted kids, right? For the other kids, if we're able to do something like advanced content, well, that would mean that the teachers would have fewer kids in their room so they can provide additional support to kids who are on grade level or kids who are a little below grade level. There's a lot of components to that. We just got to figure out. But yeah, the time factor, Vivian, is always the biggest one. And it's going to take some time to figure out some of these components and how we actually can make it happen. So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're on the road, and it's a paved road. It's no longer dirt. So, what else do you guys have? What other questions do you have?
Hey
All
Terry, I have
right.
a
Hey,
question.
hey, Nina.
With all the growth, which is amazing, when do you guys consider bringing on another assistant principal?
Um,
Yeah.
you're sweet to say that. So the truth is that within our budget, we've earned a second assistant principal already.
Okay.
I came from Fulton. Okay, this is probably just more of a Terry Harness thing, but I'll tell you my rationale for it. I came from Fulton County
Okay.
Schools, where in Fulton we earned a second assistant principal when you reached 1,000 students. So
Mhm.
at the school that I was at, with 950 students year in year out, we never got to 1,000. I was the assistant principal, and it was just me and the principal, right? So I do have a tendency to kind of go the route of, you know what, I'm going to take what we could use as an assistant principal. We'll take that money, we add it to a grade level, we bring down class sizes. I'd rather go that route, although I will say there is a lot more that has come about that is very
Right.
administratively, administrative duties that
Right.
it takes a lot. So we do earn it already, but we are
Okay.
not. I don't know that I'm going to. I don't know that I'll go the route of adding another assistant principal. I'd rather keep the coaches to support the teachers
Right.
in that respect, because I want a position where I want our teachers to feel supported, but I also don't want to create an environment where if I'm going in there, teachers feel like, am I doing something wrong? What has happened? And even though they know they're not doing anything, they're doing all the things that they need to do and they're great. Just the title alone kind of freaks them out that, oh my gosh, he's in the
Right.
room again. What's happening? He must not think, things are wonderful. But yeah, so I'd rather them have the support where they can be their true, authentic self and say, this is what I need help in, because sometimes just pride gets the best of us and we don't want to share that out. But I want our teachers to share that with our coaches because our coaches
Okay.
are not evaluative. So that's kind of how I see it, but we do earn it. I appreciate you
Yeah.
asking. I'm sure Ms. Dossie would love it too, right? Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
confident she would love that.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Terry. No, it
sure.
makes sense. It was just like when I used to teach in Gwinnett, we had 1,200 kids in our elementary school, but we had 4 assistant principals, right? We had one dedicated to every 2 grade levels.
Yeah.
But I
Wow.
love the way that you're doing it with coaches instead,
Yeah.
because we didn't have the coach support. And you're right. So that works. But
Yeah, it definitely does. But I will say, I think our PTO kind of acts as like a second assistant principal because, and I'll tell you the reason why I say that is because they help to plan so many of the different things, the events, et cetera. Those are huge undertakings that
right.
I'm glad we don't have to do because at my school in Sandy Springs, when I was there, the AP did have to plan for all of the events that
Right.
happened, and it was a ton. So we're fortunate. So we do have a PTO kind of like assistant principal, so to speak, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other question? Hey, Chief George. I don't know if he's there, but hey, there he is. Hey, George. We miss you, sir. We know you miss us. You're welcome to come back anytime. We'll take you. Just let us know when that happens. Any other questions? All right, so what I would ask of you all, just stay tuned and be on the lookout for some invitations to talk budget, to look at the real detailed budget that I will iron out, and to help me think through some considerations, some new things that we might want to consider, or some reconsiderations, things that we might want to say we'll either remove and revamp or just completely do differently. But I will be sending that out, so you'll see that. Hopefully I'll see you then. But I appreciate you as always. Thanks for being a thought partner. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Oh, and let me say this. Tomorrow your kids may be coming home with their devices unless you opted out. So I'm just saying they may come home with devices, probably will come home in anticipation of whatever may happen on Monday. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, but everyone will stay safe and we'll move right along. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.